And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining IT Career in Australia show. And tonight we're going to talk about protecting your mental health in IT industry and specifically some tips for women today. Katherine is going to share her insights, her story, and experience when it comes to this topic. Thank you so much for finding some time to join me this evening. Please don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversations with your questions and comments. Or at least say hi in the comments that we know that you're here. So, we know that we're not just talking with the crickets and there is the people who want to listen to us tonight. So if you're new to my show, I'm Yana Martis. I'm currently working in IT consultancies. So I'm passionate about learning more about the present and the future of the tech industry and always eager to share my latest findings and insight with you on this YouTube channel. As I said, tonight's topic is protecting your mental health in IT industry. Really close topic to me as well because I study psychology myself, so love everything that related to mental health. So can't wait for this conversation with Katherine tonight. Before I pass it on to Katherine to introduce herself, I just want to remind you quickly that we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you miss the stream, don't worry. You can watch the replay by subscribing to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. I go live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time with various experts from my network. And we're talking about all the things IT career, job search, and in and outs of the tech industry in Australia. And if you want to make sure that you never miss the next show, join my meetup group to receive the invites for each event. Also, please use this live stream as the opportunity to network with people in the industry as well, not just to gain some information. Please ask as many questions as you like on any platform, but remember, stay on the topic, And most active participants will receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream as well. So that's enough of me. Some people saying hi. Douglas is here. Thank you, Douglas, for saying hi. Always nice and people, commenting. So people, don't forget to say hi in the comments. And I'm passing on to Katherine to introduce herself, please.
Hi, everyone. So thank you so much, Yana, for inviting me for today's session. My name is Katherine, and I'm a product manager across a software industry at the moment. And I've had experience specifically in the telecommunications space, financial services, and in the communications platform as a service space. And I've worked in Australia, New Zealand, managing multiple products across different evolutions in the last few years, and I'm really excited to be here. Back to you.
Thank you, Katherine. So obviously, you've been in IT industry for a while, and my first question, as usual, to all my guests, why you decide, to talk about, this topic today, why it's important for you, and why you want to share your insights tonight with us.
I think for me, the reason why this topic is important is because we talk about mental health in various forms, whether at work, in society. But I think I just want to be able to bring to light that the struggle doesn't have to be in extreme cases. It can happen to normal people who work every day. And mental health is really key in being able to function proactively and positively in all aspects of your life. And I feel that based on what I've experienced, that I am able to share what I've learned and how to actually be able to do the best that you can given the circumstances. And I just want to be able to just create the awareness that it's something that we can talk about publicly, and it doesn't have to be in secret doors where, you don't feel supported. It's something that we need to be able to accept in society, that it is something that we all go through on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Catherine. And before we, dive into your personal story, I just want to mention, like, I think last week I went to one of the meetups where we actually talk about mental health issue, mental health problem at work, and interestingly, how government at the moment trying to push the, mental health safety into organizations, but compared to work OHS and work safety, it's not as obvious like how we can create the rules around mental health, because what is hazard for one person, and like, I don't know, if it's a hole in real life, it's a hazard for everyone. But when we're talking about mental health, the same hole can mean completely different things to people. And finding, pushing some ideas about mental health from up down not always works, because it's really hard to create some policies that like can help everyone with mental health, because we're so different, we're so unique, everyone has different experience. But I think what's really important when we're sharing those stories and sharing our life experiences, definitely will be people who can relate, who maybe came through the similar experience in their life, and can relate and can benefit from seeing how, like, for example, you went through those challenges and what those challenges bring to your life. So I think those stories can be more powerful than a lot of policies out there.
Well, I guess if you put it in the COVID situation, everyone was on the same boat, right? So I guess that was a way for government to give 20 sessions a year to people who actually needed support through psychology, counseling, etc., which I think now they're lowered it back to 10. So I
Yeah.
guess in some ways, there needs to be an awareness to be able to bring that number up, because we no longer have COVID, but people also go through different things, challenges that need support.
Definitely. And I think, like, for me, for example, only now realizing how much COVID affected me. Like, when I was going through COVID, I actually felt like I'm fine. It's like, yeah, it was like a moment. There was some meltdowns, and it was up and down, but I felt like it's normal up and downs and usual. Now, then the things kind of get back to normal. I think only now I come up with some realizations that actually it wasn't all like as usual. And it's affected me like way more than I thought while I was kind of boiling in that situation. Now that I kind of can look back at the situation and can assess it from a different perspective. So I think it's something we all experience when we're going through some extreme events.
Well, I guess this is why also I'm ready to talk about, I guess, mental health situations, because I've already passed this other side in some ways. And I now have the benefit of hindsight to say this is what I should have done if I knew any better. And I'd like to be able to raise this with other people, that don't wait until the major event in your life happens to actually protect and help or maintain your mental health levels, because once you actually don't have enough in store or in you, then it makes it a very difficult challenge to get out of.
Yep, definitely. So, okay, I guess let me, pass it over to you. We're gonna, I guess, start with your story and what you learned on the way.
Yes.
Please.
So this topic is really special to me because it happened to me in 2017. And the story begins with my mom. It was a life-changing situation for me at that time because my mom went for routine checkup and surgery. She was there, she went to the hospital on Sunday. She came out of surgery on Monday, all good. And then on Tuesday, her heart stopped. Okay, so this continued for me. I did everything that was necessary at that point. Logically, in my head, I said, I need some help. I need to speak to a grief counselor, a psychologist to help me through this. So I went through 4 sessions. And then after 4 sessions, I told my psychologist, that's it. I'm fine. I don't need any of your help. Thank you very much. I'll see you. And at that point in time, he said, you're not ready. And I said, no, I am. And anyway, so I stopped the sessions anyway. And I guess if you continue to my next slide, I guess how it really was for me is I continued every day for 2 years. I continued my daily tasks of being a daughter, a wife, a sister, an aunt, a niece, a friend, a colleague, an employee, a pet parent, a reader, a neighbor, a godparent, a partner, a guardian, a carer, and the list continues. And you can stop sharing that slide, Yana. And essentially, I did this continuously in a state of frozen motion. I hadn't realized at that point that I was numb, I was frozen. I just did everything. I did everything that was asked of me, and then after 2 years, I just couldn't. I just stopped, and I hit a wall specifically because it was in a work situation. I was working for a company that was doing a challenging project wherein we we had a tight deadline. We had challenges in getting how to do it, the pressures of delivering, making sure that the team was in order. And one day in a meeting, I received this comment wherein one of the managers said, "Oh, I think Catherine doesn't really have the self confidence to talk in meetings." So after that meeting, I actually, it was constructive feedback. It wasn't said in a mean way, but I just took it so badly and so negatively. I was so angry with that comment. And I said, how dare this person even think that I have no self confidence and that I can't speak up in meetings? But at that point in time, that was true, you know? So when that happened, I essentially decided that I think I need to go back and speak to my psychologist. So I rang him up and I said, I'm sorry, here I am 2 years later, but something happened that triggered me to be really upset. And I want to sort this out. I want to find out why I don't have a voice, and I want to find out why I don't have any self confidence. So that was really the challenge for me, and the turnaround, and what really began this journey of creating awareness of mental health for myself as I continued my work in the IT industry. And so what I really want to convey is that it just takes one event in your life to shake up your sense of stability. This can be a small or a big thing, or it can be a series of things that really shock your system. But it only takes one event, really. And I feel that it is essential that you have what you have reserves in your mental health space to be able to cope with the challenges ahead. And I don't know, Yana, if you've had any experience. You said COVID was your challenging. You only realized it much later that it actually didn't help for you. But as you've worked in this space as well, have you had any similar experience wherein you feel like, you've had challenges and felt like you couldn't really address them?
Definitely. But I think like, because I study psychology myself, I've been psychoanalyzing myself like every day. And I'm kind of like extreme person, not extreme person, but like I'm person who like journaling quite often, and I always like get my old thoughts out, and I'm often like write down my negative thoughts and rewrite them in a positive way and things like this. Like I constantly doing that. And I think it's prevented me from few things, few meltdowns before. But it's interesting to see that, I'm really glad you mentioned about, psychologists. How many people actually think that going to psychologist, it's you need to go to psychologist when it's you're already like depressed, you already can't handle something. You for a lot of people going to psychologists, it feels like something wrong with them. Yeah. But I actually make the habit. I using 10 sessions per year all the time. I just scheduling them like once in 6 weeks and using it more like just accountability. Just speak with psychologists just to check in how I feel. Um, and government giving it to you. I don't know, like so many people not using that opportunity. So I always do, because even if I feel that my mental health like 8 today, it doesn't mean that it will be 2 tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there is definitely a bit of I don't know, stigma about like going to psychologist. It's assuming that something something not right. Where I kind of always see it as a coaching, accountability, and just checking. It's kind of the check-in with myself when I go and talk to someone just to see how I feel. So I don't know. Do you feel like that's a
Well,
bit of a, a
well,
case? Or?
I think definitely there is a stigma to it. Like I have a friend who I used to, I mean, she's still a friend to this day, but as I told her that I was going through my sessions for a whole year, seeing a psychologist, and the comment I received was, "You're still not over it, or you still haven't figured it out." And I said, so in some ways, I guess that's where the challenge is really being comfortable enough to say, and being, I guess that's why I wanted to be, to speak about it, is because it's not easy to be able to say that you are seeing a psychologist, but and also not have that stigma at the same time, because I think most people aren't really, as you say, also availing of the government subsidy of 10 sessions to get to get a reduced rate for these counseling sessions. And I think that even in the workplace, as you mentioned earlier, it's really very difficult to, I mean, we have Are You Okay Day, but when you actually are not, has anyone actually said they're not okay? And are you actually really ready to listen to the other person's not okay story? So it's like a tagline, which helps create awareness. But what about the next steps through that? Who supports you when you're not feeling okay? And I think this will be part of what I'll talk about later, is that sometimes, like I have a husband, he was there for me. He was very supportive. I had my family, I had good friends, but still I felt like I could not cope and needed someone to help me.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I guess that step of like asking for help, we talk about it during the COVID a lot, when that people um, reaching out for help only when they feel it's last resort. Where reaching out for help is actually not only helping yourself, it's actually helping other people, because if you reached out to other people for help, they feel more at ease to reaching out for help to you. So it actually creates this reciprocity, like reciprocity, whatever.
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity. I can't say it, but yeah. So it's actually encourage people to ask you for help. So I think sometimes, yeah, we think that we might be inconvenient or annoying if we ask for help, but it's actually doing the favor to the other person as well. So it opens the conversation, I think. Katherine, before we jump into your tips, I think Michael have a few questions for you um, regarding your situation at the meeting. So he said at that meeting, and you had a crazy, loud, and outspoken team that may not have given you a chance to speak.
I will give you an example with this Michael Lambert. He used to be my seatmate, and he was part of my team in this project. And I was so scared of this guy. Michael is a straightforward and very strong. And how did and I was so scared when I used to sit beside him, and when I used to disagree with him, he was very forceful. But I said, and I said, I have to put my fear on the side. And yeah, he was an excellent team member, and I am very grateful to this day for having someone like him in a supportive environment when you need it the most. And if you can have a team person like that, it really makes all the difference. And I'm so grateful.
So Michael is asking, when you get um, have you done the MHFA training, and do you think it's useful in the workplace or external? Actually, I'm not sure what's MHFA training.
I don't know what it is. I would think it's mental health fitness
Facilitation. I don't know. Michael,
training.
help us.
Help us. No, I haven't done it.
And the second question from Michael, from your observation, is there any imbalance in the prevalence or types of mental health issues or event based on the gender? This question is prompted by the title of this video. Actually, yeah, it is an interesting question, and we didn't get there, but maybe let's talk if you think.
Well, I think, Michael, to answer your question, my husband raised this as well, that when Yana posted this in the talk last Wednesday, my husband said, but mental health in the IT industry, shouldn't it cover both? So technically, yes, and there are a few men I guess, in the audience listening. So it is applicable to both. And I wouldn't know, but I guess you can't really say that men and women are different. I think different ways of coping, but I would think that mental health, as it affects men and women, I think your ways of coping really is specific to your own story and your own life. It's easy to say that men are not expressive, but you have men like Michael who are very expressive. So you really can't. There is no. I don't think you can really generalize. I think how you cope with mental health issues is really specific to your own life, and if the awareness of that and how you are with yourself is really important for you to be able to cope in situations that are challenging.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
um, I do believe, I guess, from a psychology perspective, that there is some trends more like towards the women and men. So we can't really just disregard the nature fully, because I think, we do talk obviously about equality, and the women and men is not that different in certain settings, but we can't completely disregard some natural settings as well, and the hormones and things like that. So sometimes we just kind of don't even think about those things. But I think there is still things that affects us, with estrogen and testosterone, and we can't just disregard that completely when we talk about mental health. But overall, I'm totally agree, Katherine. Like, everyone's unique, everyone dealing with the issues, differently and coping differently. But I guess in this case, because you're talking about your story, it might be easier for some women to relate in this case to you, because that's your story, and that's kind of what you experience. So it might be just, in this case, we're talking about tips for women, because maybe it will be easier for women to relate to what you experience. So I guess tell us, after that meeting, what's happened next.
Well, I think what had happened is a lot of the meet. I guess for me, the step began with the psychologist appointments, and then after that, really has been a series of really being self-aware and being able to put a pulse into my life, really, and being aware of what triggers my mental health issues, or if I have challenges, my reactions to mental health really is triggered by, sadly, your whole life. It's your experience, how you were brought up, your conditioning, your social, the social pressures, etc. And I think that it's really been an awareness building exercise for me. And also just remembering that for an hour in each time that I'm with my psychologist, that I'm allowed to say whatever it is that I feel that I can't normally articulate anywhere else. And it's also a challenge to even do that sometimes. That you forget that you are free in a session to just be able to be totally comfortable with whatever it is that you're feeling. And I think
Yeah.
I guess in this mental health challenge, it's really one way to protect your mental health is really being able to have that space where you are free and able to express yourself and how you feel for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And then someone can listen without any judgments, basically.
Yes, that's true. And wondered if there was anyone else who, I guess, in the audience, if they have experienced anything similar or would like to make a comment.
Yes, please, guys, share with us if you experience some event maybe that change something, how you perceive what's going on, and decide to change some take different steps towards improving your mental health, I guess. So, Catherine, what is your tips? What's what are the things that now you can share while you feel like you went through this experience?
Well, yes, I think the bottom line really is that with the challenges and roles that we play every day at work, at home, in society, you really have to be able to create space for yourself. There are multiple tips that I wrote, but I guess the first one is really you have to nurture yourself every day. You are spread out across multiple responsibilities as a parent, an individual, an employee, a teammate. And with that comes with the challenge of really being able to. It's like your clock. You have all your hands spread out, and it's really being able to bring yourself all those hands facing to you and make them all direct towards you and actually create the space and the moment for yourself to be able to just regroup and yeah, spend some check-in time with yourself. We don't have to go through the list. They can look at that later, but it's really being able to, like, if for example you do a lot of stressful things at work because of responsibilities, timelines, stakeholder management, the politics, being in a job that you hate. Sometimes, you have no choice. You have to earn a living and you are stretched out in being able to be the best that you can be so you are professional at work. But what happens on the flip side of that is, you need to be able to carve some space where you are able to nurture the things that will allow you to be able to cope for the next day. And I put examples like taking walks, for example, with a hybrid situation at home. And there are some people who used to walk a lot but don't anymore, because of the hybrid situation. You forget that walking is actually good for you, that you can just step out for even just 5 minutes and take a breather. And you need to do things like that. And you need to be able to have like projects outside of work, and it doesn't have to cost much. One of the things that I posted in a photo was, there was one year that my husband and I decided, oh, we won't give presents to each other. So I decided to delve in this Japanese stitching, which I thought was going to be an easy task. But, like most Japanese art form, it's actually insanely precise. And I did the best I could, but it isn't like a Japanese form of art. But I got a lot of satisfaction out of it. One of the things that I say also is potentially take a class. You can be absorbed 8 hours in a day, even more sometimes with, the global workplace, that timelines. You have to work late nights to be able to do timings in the UK, in the US, for example. So you need to be able to do projects that you like, that you can focus in, that you can invest for yourself to give you a bit of a separation from work, given that currently, we that has blurred for some, you know, for some environments where you completely work from home. So you have to be able to sort of put a line that separates yourself and your identity and who you are, and not put everything in your work basket. Because at the end of the day, you know, the challenges in the workplace affect everyone every day. We see that with the layoffs at the moment, you know. And what do you do when that happens to you and you don't have the reserves, for example? How do you deal with all that if you have nothing on the side that nurtures you? You know, so you need some events and things that actually nurture your spirit. And it could be anything, you know, you can sing and dance at home, you know, you can, yeah, you have to do. And I guess the most, my last tip was really to find wonder in every day, where you essentially can see the beauty in everything, you know, experience something different that you see every day. And you'll notice that if you pay attention, the same road that you pass every day will have something different. And for me, COVID did that. That, you know, we had such a small 5 kilometer radius that we used to walk on, and you know, and we had no choice but to look at things differently. And true enough, you would see something different every day. And even there are so many free classes online that you could take also. And if you see a photo of my not so pretty cat, that was my attempt to try and draw my cat and make use of paint, paper, and a brush. And it was watercolor, and my cat doesn't look like that at all. But I had so much, you know, I had so much joy in being able to just manipulate colors and the brushes. And you realize that when you invest things and you do things on for yourself, that it actually, yeah, you actually have enough that can fill your spirit, that will allow you um, to take a pulse of how you're feeling every day. You know, I think you have to have a barometer every day. And how I do this at work, I set like a 5 minute reminder every day in my calendar at the same time, just to check in on myself to see how am I doing. You know, how am I feeling today? And I found that really helpful when you know, when sometimes you get really stressed out at work. And but when you spend this time, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to see, oh, okay, I don't feel so good now. And once you acknowledge that, you sort of are able to let it go. And I think that's really helpful. And yeah, it's just a few tips. And if Yana, at some point your audience would want to see it, then it will be in the video anyway. But
Yes, yeah.
yeah, but I guess a lot of it really, the premise there is you have to have a lot of emotional reserve for yourself, to be able to cope with the challenges that come your way. Because sometimes when a major thing hits you in your life, it can take most, you know, all your energy, all your effort. And, you know, the building up process is always much harder than when you have a stable reserve, or a little above the normal reserve in your being.
Definitely, Catherine. So many important points there. So I probably want to, you know, go back to a few, just to drill you on some examples, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
um, just coming back, you know, to your story about, you know, the when you mentioned that one day, you know, someone mentioned in the meeting that you know, you might lost a bit of a confidence at the meetings. So how did it change for you at work, I guess, once you took the step back and reevaluate? Like, do you think you're doing differently something at work now?
Oh, definitely. Yes. I definitely have realized why I didn't have a voice. So going through a psychologist has really helped me with that journey. I think that was really the most important thing for me, was to find out why I couldn't. Because I never consider myself as someone who can't speak. I always thought I was pretty outspoken. But then I realized when I'm at work, I change into this persona that I don't know. You know, like we all have different personas. And while I'm at work, I I guess when I'm stressed and put under pressure, my persona reverts to a situation where when I what I didn't realize was something from childhood, and so that awareness now has helped me be able to deal with stressful situations, and I'm able to raise it confidently, and I'm able to be happy with being able to say what it is that I feel, and raise the issues that are at work that are of concern, and know how to be able to challenge um, higher management, teammates, colleagues that have opinions that are different from mine. So it's really being able to be comfortable with my own voice. But it took a journey for me. And in some ways, I'm thankful for that person for saying that. Even if at that time I wasn't ready and I didn't know how to deal with it. But yeah, took it very well. And I think it has worked for me.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think it's quite common, maybe for women or maybe for men or for everyone in general, to be quite different at work and in the personal life? Do you think it's something that's a concept that we all internalize, that he's us at work, he's us at home, where in reality that's where some problems might start, where we always need to put like a different persona instead of trying to be more ourselves in different situations?
Well, I think there are, I guess, challenges to that question because how we are at work is also determined by how, I guess, what your role is, and sometimes even if you consciously or unconsciously you just switch on to how you are at work. You don't really, sometimes you don't. Some people are more conscious that it's a different persona, but sometimes you don't carry all these subconscious things and your way of working and dealing with things. But I think a lot of the challenge with that question really is sometimes it really depends on what state you are in your career in the office, for example, or the longevity that you are in the office. Because if you're new, regardless of your male or female, if you're having a hard time, the challenge there is how do you bring to management your challenges, given that you want to be made permanent, for example. So that can apply male or female, and it can also be, I think, and if you're being treated by higher management, regardless of your position too, male or female, your reacting will also be dependent on, yeah, I guess dependent on, your boss, how they are, male or female, and how they treat you. So there's a lot of varying factors. So I'm not really sure how to answer that properly, but I tried.
Yeah, it's I think it's a kind of multifaceted question, because we, in one side, we do need to put some sort of persona at work, and depends of our company culture, depends of the position and stuff. But I think if that gap is too big, like if who you are at home and who you are at work is like two different people, I believe it's definitely not that healthy for your mental health. So obviously there could be some difference in some behaviors, and we tone it down some behaviors at work, and it's completely normal. But I think when it's extremes, there is definitely something to look at. So, and maybe, just coming back to the example where you're saying that maybe you felt like you quite outspoken, and you felt like, you have a confidence to talk, but for some reason, at work, it didn't come across as you thought. So,
Yes, and I think also the stress, right? The challenging situations, the pressure at work also don't allow you to be able to deal with that sometimes. And and I think it's how you deal with stress that sort of triggers a lot of how your reactions are to situations. And maybe I think that's what happened to me. It was very stressful, and I just sort of became disempowered to say anything. And I think that can happen.
Michael saying, I'm like two different people at work and at home, but that helps me to compartmentalize and improves my work-life balance. Look,
I think
different coping strategy right here.
yeah, I guess some people are like that. I mean, I also had a manager previously. He was so awful at the office, but he was loved by his children, loved by his wife. So in some ways, we were like, how could not reconcile how this person was managing us, and at the same time that he was so awful, but at the same time his kids loved him to bits, you know. So in some ways, you know, it's a way of being yourself, that your more vulnerable side sometimes is not reserved for anyone but only for your family, and that you become a different person when you're at work.
Yeah, I will be really biased here. Okay, so I'm gonna be like a super bias here, but I feel like, just from like looking at people, that men is actually had this kind of the I'm sure you saw this video of like that the man's brain considers the boxes, and there is a box for work, box for family, and there is a box with nothing, and men can go to this nothing box, where the women brain, it's like spaghetti balls, and it's everything connected to everything, and you start thinking about one problem and another connected and another connected. Look, I'm sounds like I'm separating man and woman here, but I actually do believe there is a difference. I do believe that the man has this more, I don't know, compartmentalized things where they can talk about work things and let work with the, family things with family, where I think women tend to come home and talk about their work and talk about their work and talk about their work till they talk it out.
Yeah, I think I guess that I kind of maybe relate, and I don't know. My husband's watching, so but he basically does not talk about work at all. You cannot ask him about work really, and so that is an interesting thing for me. While I have no one else to talk about and have to relay my day over and over, similar to what you're saying. But my husband, by the end of the day, asked him about work. It was okay.
Yeah. So look, I do believe that there is definitely some trends there,
Yeah.
but look, I guess it really depends. What, again, it's quite individual and unique, and the different things works for different people. But I also want to, I guess, come back quickly to the few things that you listed down, in terms of creating this like new habits and checking in with you. I
Yeah.
think this is just like writing down how's your day. This is just like such a simple thing that a lot of people forget to do. Just like do this check in with yourself and see like, okay, so how I'm feeling today. I don't know, different people can use different strategy for this. You can score yourself every day and like, like today I feel like 9, today I feel like 3, or you can, I don't know, like just be more descriptive every day. But I think this is a really simple but really powerful tip in terms of like actually checking in with yourself and see how I am, like am I
Yeah.
okay today? So what is actually worries me? Because unless you stop and think what worries you, sometimes you actually don't know, and you feel a bit of a stress, maybe you feel tensions, you feel anxious, but you're not realizing the reason of it. You think you may be stressed about, because of this meeting, or that's your client annoy you or something. But in reality, if you stop and check in with yourself and think what you feel, it might be you still thinking about, I don't know, yesterday fight with your mother or something, and it's completely unrelated to this meeting, but because you're still going through these feelings, everything basically start attaching to it. And I think that we need to remember that like daily check-ins with yourself, it's funny, like, learning to talk with yourself, it's kind of a skill.
You can do it with Zoom now. You can put the Zoom thing on and you can talk and then you can see yourself. That could be your virtual to yourself, that you can actually do your check-ins that way. Put um, the Zoom meeting on, and it's like you see how you're reacting and what you look like as you're talking.
That's a good one. So, and then that kind of brings your awareness even more, because you can see yourself. You can, that gives you visuals. I have a WhatsApp chat with myself.
Wow, that's pretty good.
It's actually really helpful. So I usually write, like, it's a WhatsApp chat only with myself, but I write the weekly goals. And then because it's a WhatsApp chat, it obviously leaves the dates, or like, or something that I quickly, like quick thought that I'm trying to remember. But because it has like dates, you can really track yourself as well. And because you can track yourself, like sometimes you're surprised, you can scroll down a few months back and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think that was my weekly goal back then. Like, because everything like changing. So you can actually kind of do the review and like, my priorities suddenly change, or like, I start thinking about different things. And you can find out about yourself a lot. Like, if you're a person who don't like journaling and writing things like every day, you can do something as simple as Zoom call with yourself or WhatsApp chat with yourself.
Well, I was even thinking one of the things that you could do is you could even just give yourself a number. How do you feel today? And then every day, if you want to put it in an Excel spreadsheet or even just a notebook, you know, you can check every day and give yourself a number and you can see how you're tracking in that week on an average. And
Yeah.
I think it's it's important to just have a pulse to how you're feeling before it dips to a state where it becomes difficult to cope.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously you can predict if if you're going for weeks at 3, like it's probably something not right there, because going like up and down is quite normal. We all go up and down. We can't stay like uh, you
Yeah,
know happy all the time. But yeah,
and maybe it's also, you can see that, let's say every Monday you give a score of 3, and then you wonder why is every Monday a 3, and it's because you don't like Mondays. So it sort of just gives you an insight to yourself. I mean, it's a crazy thing, but it's little things. Whatever works in for you really is how you should. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. Everyone does their own um, way of doing check-ins, and you do what's right for you.
yeah. And Michael saying, my partner, how was work? Me, good. Exactly. But I'm not sure. Jan, do we forget to do it, or have we never been taught to do it? Are you talking about the check-ins with yourself, Michael? I'm not sure. I lost you in which moment you comment. Here we go. There are a lot of mood tracking apps. If people are interested, just Google mood tracking app. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
so good. But that comes from a very geeky, techie person. So thank you for the tip.
I usually I end up doing something simpler with as I said, like a WhatsApp chat, or just I do write a lot, so that helps me more, I guess, doing something tangible. But I'm thinking like probably younger generation quite happy with the apps. It's easier
Yeah,
for them. It's like second nature.
yeah,
I
that's
still want
true.
to like scrabble something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. um Cool. So I just got distracted with the questions, and I forgot what was I going to mention. But anyway, so Catherine, we're 50 minutes in our conversation, so time flies, obviously, when you have fun. So I guess let's just try to summarize our discussion today, and try maybe to give few like maybe 3 top tips on protecting your mental health, especially in IT industry. And actually, one question before we do that: do you think IT industry is more stressful, or do you think is there anything like particular different when you're working with IT industry that can affect your mental health?
Well, IT is really, I mean, I've only really worked in this industry for a very long time, and it is very stressful because there are multiple stakeholders of varying shapes and form. And every day, I guess a product manager, so there are many variables in engineering, tech, in legal, in product itself, in management. So it is very stressful because you have a lot of things is out of your control and you're dependent on other people to do the job. I think if you're a dev, it's slightly different, of course. You have a lot of time for yourself for as long as they're given the right instructions, they can do things. But I would think it would be a bit more challenging to work in the tech in IT because you essentially have no control of a lot of things and you are dependent on other people to to be able to do your job. And product is like that, you can, even if you say I don't need anyone, you really do. And it's how you manage all the complexities and the challenges that make you survive. And if you aren't able to do that, then the work snowballs into something very stressful, from the beginning to the end of your career, really.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's also the big challenge is always to work in a high level of certainty. And
Yes.
I think more and more professions kind of experience that. But I think in IT industry, quite profound that sometimes you just need to move really quickly. You need to drop something and start something different. And you not always know what's coming with the technology changing and things changing. ChatGPT coming.
Trumped everyone without knowing.
um, so Michael saying, talking to many people outside of IT, and IT industry is much more aware of mental health than other industry. It may be more challenging, but it's also more supportive.
That can be quite
Probably
true
agree.
too.
I
Yeah.
probably agree to some point as well. And I feel like in IT industry also, all of these agile ways of working, Scrum things. So I feel like they bring a lot of psychology into the table as well. Sometimes, like, I don't know, I work in different industries, and I kind of feel like in IT, it's definitely been more conversations about at least ways of working and how to help people to be more productive. When you work, I don't know, or like if you take like hospitality, for example, you just need to run. Like,
Yeah, go back
there
and
is
forth,
less
deliver.
uncertainty. There is less uncertainty because you just you know you need to run, but it's kind of like no one think about like how we can how we can make it different and how we can I don't know, like create a different ways of working and stuff. So it is a different, I guess, a different vibe. So yeah, I don't know. There's
But I guess
probably
it,
some, yeah.
yeah, I guess, but if you put that and compare it to consulting, for example, you also don't, you work like what, 60, 70 hour weeks type of thing. So, I mean, I guess when you say is IT industry stressful, I guess it's relative, right? To, I guess, industry, it really, I guess everything can be stressful. Yeah, it's how you manage it, essentially.
Yeah. And I think we're coming back to the beginning of our conversation that mental health is issues unique to everyone, and what can be like a massive challenge and stressful and disturbing for one person can be walk in the park for another person. Some people hated working from home 5 days a week. Some people loved working from home 5 days a week. Some people find it stressful to do presentations in front of other people. Some people love giving presentation about in front of our people. So there is so many different barriers when it comes to mental health that it's I guess impossible to predict it. And I think that brings us to the point when if you feel stress and you need to look after your mental health, you're the one who can help yourself
The most.
the
Yeah,
most,
actually, the
because
most. Yeah.
you
No one
need
else.
you yes,
No one else
no
can do it.
policies.
Yeah, you drive the outcomes that you want for yourself, really, and no one else can do that for you. And
Yep.
the way to getting it in a shape that works for you is really all your effort.
Yep. And you're the one who know the most about yourself, and you're the one who need to learn more about yourself to
Yeah.
make sure that you don't put yourself in the situations that can, put your mental health into into challenging positions. So, um, and of course, you can't predict anything, but you can make the precautious step to create the environment that your mental health can, can thrive. So,
Yeah.
Catherine, few last minutes. I'll just do the announcement for next week, and if you can kind of, formulate your three main tips to summarize this discussion, we can finish on that. And next week, 29th of March, we're gonna go back to our favorite AI topic. We've been talking about ChatGPT last week and artificial intelligence a few weeks ago. So we're gonna continue a bit on this topic, and Simon is going to talk about top strategy for embracing artificial intelligence in IT career. So, if you still feel threatened by ChatGPT or anything else, make sure to tune in next Wednesday. We're going to discuss how you can turn it into your advantage. So, Catherine, okay, so if you need to give 3 tips to protect your mental health, what that would be?
I think for me, first is taking a pulse of how you're feeling every day. So I guess from a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel? That's my first tip. The second tip that I have is to be able to find someone that you can talk to. I think it's important to be able to have a supportive person that is ready and available for you when you actually need to have a chat. And the third thing that I would like to recommend is really find something that nourishes you every day. Do something that nourishes you every day. Can be big or small, and that's really important.
Perfect. So check in with yourself, find someone to talk with, and make sure do at least one thing per day that excites you and inspires you. Catherine, just before we finish, it's really reminded me about talking about with someone. Simon Sinek had this great video during the COVID where when he felt like stress and stuff, he made the rules with his friends saying, we never cry by ourselves. So if you feel like you want to cry, call someone. So and then don't do it by yourself. And I think that's such a powerful rule that you can make, with the people that close to you. And it's again, that's reciprocity. It's let them to feel like they can call you if they feel certain way, and it give you this like psychological safety that if you feel this way, you can call this person. So you can literally make this rule with some people who close to you, with your friends or family, and it's already giving some protection, because I know if you're crying by yourself, you can cry for hours. Like it just if it sets off, that's it. It's really hard to bounce back once you're already at the zero. But if you catch it in the right moment, that can really help, before getting to complete disaster. So find this video by Simon Sinek. I've really enjoyed that that conversation. Okay, Catherine. Anything else to add? Just to before we have 20 seconds.
And thank you for inviting me, and I hope it's been helpful for you and for whoever's watching.
Thank you, everyone. So if you enjoyed our conversation today, make sure to like this video and share it with those who need to hear this. I'm sure you have friends who, maybe going through some difficult times, and maybe they benefit from, listening from our today's conversation. So make sure to do this. And thank you so much, Katherine, for coming and sharing your story today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And see you, everyone. And Michael saying a huge thank you for both of us. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you,
How's your walk?
Michael.